How to win the FIFA World Cup on Airbnb. Book a home near the stadium. Jump into
In this video, I will create and test the deadliest LEGO vehicles. I built tanks, airplanes, ships, cars, submarines, helicopters, trains, farming equipment, and battle robots. Which type of vehicle will turn out to be the most deadly? Let's find out. Well, we'll start with tanks. Let's start as usual with small. What should a tank be able to do? Of course, to drive and shoot. With the minimum number of parts, most likely we will be able to realize only one function, but it will be enough at this stage. For a miniature tank, it can be especially not to invent a weapon and take a ready-made LEGO shooter. In my case, it will be this variant, which fires LEGO plates one by one. Let's make imitation caterpillars and attach the cannon to the base. There, the smallest working tank is ready. He can hit targets in front of him if you pull the trigger.
Nice.
The minifigure already can't resist the power of this tank. But what if you add some protection to the minifigure, like this shield? And yes, it was effective. The minifigure successfully repelled the attack of the mini-tank. Well, I need a slightly bigger version, as a weapon will be a LEGO shooter, which is a little more powerful than the previous version. This time I'll use more parts. From the shot, the defenseless minifigure split into two parts, but with a shield such as a tank, they also cannot cope. So we need a higher level weapon. It will be this spring-loaded shooter. With it, I decided to build a tank, which is already able to move and, as befits a tank, do it on track treads. I took the smallest version of the tracks, which offers LEGO. I ended up with a chassis like this. LEGO's electronics won't fit here to make this tank move on its own, so I decided to try to build a rubber motor that could move the tank after charging. But I didn't succeed in creating an adequately working version. The rubber band unwound quickly and the tracks moved jerkily. But if you remove the rubber band, the tank can be moved manually by spinning the rear gear that was previously used to wind the rubber band. To activate the cannon, you have to push the back end of the dart inserted in the spring cannon. This tank is already capable of hitting a figure even with a shield. And what about the defense in the form of a brick wall? A cannon like this can handle even that. Well, the new task before the tank will be to hit many targets at once. However, for this tank, it turned out to be an impossible task because its cannon has only one charge. Well, it's time to take it to the next level. This time I want to create a tank that will move independently thanks to electronics and motors. The first thing I did was to create a chassis with these tracks. As you can see, everything works perfectly, which means it's time to start creating the weapon. There is no ready-made LEGO solution because I want to create a multi-shot semi-automatic cannon. The easiest solution would be to build a rubber band gun. Rubber bands will be both projectiles and part of the firing mechanism. This is what I got in the end. A simple mechanism which is based on a large gear wheel. Let's decorate the tank with standard LEGO parts to give the tank an appearance. And finally, it's test time. How will it handle a small platoon of minifigures? As you can see, all the figures are successfully defeated. This tank can shoot, but how about overcoming obstacles? Because this tank already has a full working Caterpillar chassis. How will it show itself in action? We need to test it. To do this, I decided to prepare a number of tests, which are located on the path of the labyrinth. Will our tank be able to pass all the tests and get out of the maze? Now let's see. The tank begins its journey. The obstacles in the form of rails are easily passed. The plate filled with LEGO barrels also did not become a problem. But now, most likely, there will be problems because around the corner the tank is waiting for a whole forest of LEGO plants. Hardly breaking through the plastic bushes and trees, the tank still manages to get to the next stage. Here are already quite large growths of LEGO barrels and cones, which imitates a rather hard rocky ground. It was quite difficult because the tracks of the tank are small and it is hard for them to get a grip on such heterogeneous pillars of LEGO parts. But still, the tactic of going straight ahead worked and the tank managed to move forward. This time, you need to pass the ramp, at the end of which stands a whole LEGO car. The power of the tank is enough to overturn the car and move it out of the way. But there is a whole crowd of figures waiting for him. But the tank doesn't care and moves on. And again the ramps, but at a steeper angle. Whether the tank has the power to overcome them, let's see. It was quite difficult, but the tank still managed to cross, although it seems that this was the limit of its capabilities. The next fences have an even steeper angle, and this time the small tank is not able to pass this test as well as the next one. The tank was able to pass 7 out of 9 tests. I consider it a good result. Let's return to the weapon test.
Sigma, Sigma boy, Sigma boy, Sigma.
No. Other way. You're twisting it the wrong way.
What do you want me to do?
Just look down. All right. Just look at me. Look what I'm doing.
Yeah.
All right. See the way I'm twisting it?
Yeah.
All right. Turn it that way from your end.
Okay.
Okay. No. All right. You know what? All right. Just put it down. Put it down. Just drop it.
Boy, Sigma.
The new test showed a number of shortcomings of this tank, namely the power of the rubber bands and the lack of aiming system rather limits the radius of impact of the tank, and that's a sign that it's time to move on to the next version of the Lego tank, a more powerful and passable one. The first thing I did was to create a chassis with tracks like these. This will be a strong base that must withstand the new weapon mechanism with elements of the aiming system. The chassis have a shock absorption system, which will allow it to overcome difficult obstacles. The weapon for this tank I made as follows. The cannon has a magazine that is loaded with triple Technic beams. The last stage before the test will be to work on the appearance. And now, finally, another tank is ready. It looks really cool. In addition to impressive tracks and powerful weapon, it has a rotating turret, which allows you to aim more accurately. Let's check how it hits the target. Here is such a building guarded by military men, will be our target. As you can see, the figures didn't even stand a chance against this fighting machine. A whole group of figures stood in the way of the tank, but for him, it's not a problem. The tank shoots well, but what about overcoming obstacles? Let the tank try to pass the familiar obstacle course. For such a track technique, as if there are no obstacles at all, the tank very quickly passes all stages compared to the previous model. What a pity minifigures, which were in his way. And now our tank has already reached the obstacles that were insurmountable for the previous model, but it seems that they are no longer so. And here is the last obstacle in the form of Lego rocks. The tank does not just overcome them, it compares them to the ground. And there's the finish line. The tank has passed all the tests. It looks like it's ready to take on an entire military base. Keeping its distance, the tank starts firing, breaking through the figure's defenses. Dozens of plastic pieces fly out of the Lego tank's barrel. After all the shells are over, the tank goes for a frontal attack. Lego fortifications crumble under its tracks, and the military base literally crumbles before your eyes. This is an absolute victory of a fighting machine. However, I decided not to stop there and create a real Lego monster, a tank that can destroy anything. For this version, I focused on creating a destructive cannon that would surpass all the previous ones. I managed to build an unusual multi-charger that fires large Lego projectiles. For comparison, they are larger than the first 2 tanks we made in this video. The mechanism of the weapon works like this. 2 powerful buggy motors spin and push the projectile between the wheels, giving it incredible speed and destructive potential. Because of their size and weight, the tracks are no longer suitable, so I chose a wheeled base with a reinforced frame to withstand the recoil from the weapon. Having finished with the appearance, I immediately started testing. This tank doesn't just hit minifigures, it destroys entire Lego buildings. This proves its superiority. Its shells can penetrate any fortification. Due to the wheelbase, the tank moves rather sharply on a flat surface, but it is hard to overcome obstacles. But it has a trump card. Why overcome something if it can be destroyed? This tank can even destroy a huge Skibidi toilet. Capturing a military base becomes a formality for this monster. collision, its weight and power turn obstacles into ruins. The entire defensive perimeter is destroyed in a matter of minutes, and the base is simply compared to the ground. This tank really deserves the title of Lego Monster. This concludes our tank review. Write in the comments which tank you like the most. Build the most dangerous Lego plane to fend off an alien invasion, survive tough crash tests, and hit all targets.
Sigma!
In this video, I will build and test working Lego warplanes, starting from the smallest one with minimal functionality to a real giant with truly destructive weapons. Let's start, as usual, with a small one. Let's create a simple body with wings and add a cannon. The weapon of the miniature airplane will be this Lego cannon, shell of which I modified. Well, the miniature warplane is ready, but we need a pilot to fly this machine. A regular figure is clearly not the right size for this plane. That's why we need a mini version of it. We're ready to fly.
Introducing Main Stage Kids.
Okay, grown-ups, listen up. This is how you...
By pulling the lever, we can drop a projectile right on the minifigure's head. It couldn't take the impact, but if the figures will be more than one, the mini airplane will not be able to perform the task, so the next model will need a more powerful weapon. Now I decided to build a bigger airplane. This version already has 4 cannons on board. The hull design is more complex, with reinforced wings and additional parts for stability. The weapons are improved shells, which have a higher hitting power when dropped. Tests have shown that such an airplane can destroy not only one, but several figures at once. However, the protective wall of bricks still remains an insurmountable obstacle. Let's move on to the next level of difficulty. This time I want to create a mini fighter jet. Taking as a basis an existing Lego set, I decided to simply arm it by adding a mechanism with a hidden weapon, namely with the already familiar spring Lego cannon. Firing a dart from such a cannon resembles the flight of a rocket. And the destructive energy is enough to tear down the barrier in the form of a brick wall and hit the figure. This is the third airplane, and I still haven't built a place to put them, namely an airbase. Laying out the plates on the table, I began to build out the runway. To create hangars for the airplanes, I used a secret technique that allows me to create curved shapes. Finally, the airplanes can be positioned. I also decided to add some other buildings to make the airbase look more complete. But here's the trouble. Our base has been infiltrated by unknown aircraft, and alien invaders are landing from them. It seems we need reinforcements. Now I want to create more destructive and autonomous flying machines, and I decided to start by creating a fighter plane at the beginning of its history, when behind the propeller of the airplane was a machine gun, which allowed it to hit both air and ground targets. I took Lego tech parts and built this chassis with a motor that spins the propellers, finished the appearance of the aircraft by adding wings and tail with stabilizers. Well, the airplane is ready. Let's check the work of the weapon. The weapon magazine is loaded with this kind of axle and inserted into the front of the airplane. The weapon is triggered by starting the engine. I used a system using gears and a lever with a rubber band to create the machine gun. Everything works, but the rotating propeller often becomes a hindrance and bullets hit it and do not reach the target. I wonder how it worked in those warplanes. There was a special mechanism that adjusted the frequency of propeller rotation to the frequency of shots, but in my case, the velocity of the shells is lower than the speed of the propeller, which becomes a problem. To make the cannon still work, I decided to sacrifice the rotation of the propeller and simply disconnected it from the drive. This solution allowed me to make the Lego machine gun more stable. During the test, such an airplane showed excellent results. It successfully destroyed the minifigures. There's one item I haven't yet accomplished when making Lego airplanes, and that is flight. Obviously, a Lego airplane is unlikely to fly, but maybe I can come up with something. Having assembled a small launcher, I decided to check whether a Lego airplane can fly. As you can see, it failed. Of course, I would like to achieve a result similar to how this toy glider flies.
Yeah, baby! That's what
I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about.
But it's not Lego. I tried to build an airplane from Lego plates, reducing its weight as much as possible and increasing the area of the wings, and it gave a noticeable result. The plane flew a few meters, but unfortunately the landing was not soft, which completely destroyed the structure. Well, it is very difficult to make a Lego airplane fly, so I decided to simulate the flight by building a cable system and suspending the airplane on rollers. This way I can simulate flight. By moving the cables in different directions, I can move the airplane forward and backward. Well, it's time to vacate the airbase, prepare for flight and take off. As we approach the airbase, it's time to activate our machine gun. The alien invaders have been hit hard, but the big bosses are still standing.
Sigma, Sigma!
Sigma, Sigma boy, Sigma boy, Sigma.
Well, apparently we need a more modern fighter plane. This airplane's main weapon will be a drop of powerful projectiles, which due to the fall from a height will cause damage to the enemy. For this purpose, I have assembled a cylindrical compartment in which the shells are placed. The actual projectiles have this appearance. Inside, there is a rotating structure that pushes the projectiles and ejects them in turn from the bottom hole.
Mira esto. Hola, Char. ¿Podés poner mi pelo con los colores de la selección argentina? Pero que se vea natural, ¿eh? Los chicos se van a reír.
The last step is to assemble the case. In the end, I got a fighter like this. The appearance is just amazing, and the working mechanism of the shells will be able to help us in the liberation of the airbase. But the first thing I want to do is test it on a Lego fortified castle. See if it can protect this figure from our fighter jet.
Fighter pilot!
The Lego fighter is already over the castle, activating the projectile dropping system. What's left of the castle is nothing but ruins. I think we're ready to strike at the alien invaders. Flying over the base, the Lego fighter starts dropping shells right on the aliens, and this time they can't escape. The alien monsters can't resist our fighter. The airbase is back under our control. Our mini planes are not badly damaged, but how will the Lego airplane cope with liberating the Lego city from the different monsters that have taken it over?
Dinosaur.
No. Papoy.
That wasn't a problem. All the characters were defeated, but we need a weapon that will destroy them for sure. Now it is time to create the biggest and most powerful model. This airplane will be a true giant. After assembling the airframe of the airplane, I decided to incorporate an auto-drop system into it. To do this, I made a mechanized ramp, and inside the airframe is a linear actuator that will push the projectile to be jettisoned once the ramp is opened. As you can see, it works. Then we can get to the exterior. This model has become a real Lego monster, assembled from the largest parts. This airplane will not have a built-in weapon on board because it's only task will be to deliver something to the right place. Delivering this monster will be a Lego nuke. For its creation, I used a Lego trick, which allowed me to achieve a spherical shape. Look at the end result compared to the Lego figure. I can't even imagine the destructive energy this weapon will have. Load the nuclear Lego munition into the warhead bay. Close the ramp. And it's time to take off to deal with the invaders. The commander gives the go-ahead to drop the projectile and presses the red button.
Oh, boring game. I only have one truck filling the sea.
I have 10 trucks working simultaneously. This allows me to
The test results exceeded all expectations. This airplane destroyed an entire Lego city, and with it all the aliens. Its power and functionality make it virtually invincible. Or is it? Let's do a crash test and see what happens to airplanes during a plane crash. But let's start in order, starting with the very first airplane. Yeah, the last airplane wasn't that strong after all, but it's even better because look how sticky its destruction looks in slow motion. It's a shame about this little guy, just wreckage, but it was worth it. This experiment clearly showed how diverse Lego planes can be, from miniature models to real giants. Each design contributed to the overall success. Write in the comments which of the airplanes you liked the most, and also share ideas for future tests. Build the most dangerous Lego submarine to fight off sea monsters, break through deep sea traps, and destroy any target underwater. In this video, I'll build the deadliest submarines using Lego bricks. From a small submarine made of just a few pieces to a huge submarine with working torpedoes. It's going to be epic. Let's get started. Let's start small, as usual. The submarine must be able to swim underwater and, in our case, have some kind of weapon to destroy targets. As a basis, I decided to take this small Lego shooter, which shoots 1x1 plates. I enlarged the projectile, add a tail to the submarine, and also an improvised periscope on top. Well, the smallest submarine is ready. We need to test it. For this, we will need a small aquarium. A nano figure will steer the boat. This submarine does not sink on its own. Let's check how its weapon works. It's weak, but if you launch it from a depth, the projectile will start to pull upward, thereby accelerating it, and we can hit the target, such as, for example, Tralalero Tralala, the most dangerous underwater predator. Of course, this boat is just the beginning, and it's time to move on. In order for a submarine to float, it needs a propulsion system. Usually, electric motors are used for this purpose, but electricity and water don't mix well. So I decided to think of another solution. What if the submarine was powered by a rubber motor? I had already tried using one in previous videos, but it didn't work properly. This time, I studied this technology in more detail and assembled a version of the rubber motor that works well.